time for another update on Celebrity Big Brother 3. Another quick update on Celebrity Big Brother 3. We're going to talk about Todd Bridges today, mostly, I think, because he did win the veto. And, I said several videos ago at the beginning of the season when Twitter was being their usual wrong selves, saying that Todd was one of the people not playing, when in fact Todd is one of the only people playing hard with Misha and Todrick. So, and now we've been seeing for the past week and a half, Todd even thinking about jury votes compared to nobody else in the house even that crossing their mind whatsoever, especially Todrick, who is doing nothing but losing jury votes because he's played a very personal game instead of just playing the game. But Todd has shown that he's the only other person in the house left outside of Todrick and Misha that can win challenges. He was the target this week for Todrick, but he can't be anymore. So Todrick will have to put up Cynthia next to Lamar, and Lamar likely, unfortunately, getting the boot this week. It isn't really that unfortunate at this point. Like I said in the last video, I don't care about none of these players left, but Todd seems to be the only one that can maybe contend with Misha and Todrick as we go into the final few days of the game. And coming into the Final Four with the duo, it's very interesting if a strong duo or even like a flimsy duo makes it to the Final Four in Big Brother, because truly the veto is more important than HOH. If anything, I think, well, not the veto is just the most important in Final Four. It just is, any way you slice it. But if there's a duo, Todrick and Misha should want to win veto more than HOH, because Todrick can't compete in HOH, but Misha can. But if Misha wins HOH, then Misha or Todrick have to win veto, or it's likely that Todrick's going home, because if Misha wins and puts up Cynthia and Todd, but Todd wins veto, then Todd can decide that Todrick goes home over Cynthia, and I think he would. Now, if Cynthia wins veto, would Cynthia actually be smart enough at this game to take out Todrick over Todd? I'm not convinced of that completely. But if Todd wins that Final Four veto, then he could get rid of Todrick at Final Four, and it becomes Todd versus Misha versus Cynthia at Final 3 for that last HOH. So Final Four is interesting when there's any kind of duo in the Final Four, because winning the veto is more important for that duo than winning the HOH. Now, if Todd wins HOH, I mean, it's still good for Todd, because he can put both Misha and Todrick on the block. If one of them wins veto, the other one's still on the block. But see, what happens in that case, if Misha and Todrick are the initial noms, and one of them comes down from the veto, then one of them can still vote at Final Four, and it's likely they might vote out Cynthia. I mean, Todrick winning that veto, would he vote out Misha over Cynthia? I think he would consider it at that point, because it's coming down to the Final 3. But Todrick and Misha seem like a very close duo to me. The only one of those two that will probably turn on the other is Todrick, but I'm not convinced he'll actually do that, but who knows, maybe he will. He's lost every single jury vote. Why not lose another one? I mean, that's really all I have to say. Todd is the only other player that has a chance of stopping Misha from winning this game, but he's going to have to do some winning in these last competitions to keep that from happening. I also don't know if Misha is getting as much hate as she was, or if it's all pointed towards Todrick now. It should be pointed towards Todrick more than Misha, because Misha hasn't said anything that problematic this season. Maybe once or twice about sexuality. She was having a conversation with Chris Kirkpatrick. But honestly, Misha said she said less offensive things than most of this cast. A lot of this cast has said some shitty or annoying things, including the people Twitter is voting for America's favorite Shayna. Twitter and the morality, the fake morality I was talking about in the last video. I also see on Twitter them trying to compare Tajik to Aaron from BB15, who was a miserable person, who not only talked shit like Tajik, but was actually doing things in that game to people aggressively. I don't think there's a comparison between Aaron and Tajik. Tajik talks a lot of shit, and he plays a very personal game. But the lashings he's taking on Twitter are a bit dramatic for me, when there's been far worse players, and comparing him to Aaron makes Twitter lose any valid claims against Tajik for being this scummy person, which he is. I think Tajik has a very big ego, and he talks a lot of shit, and he's very petty, and I think a lot of his worst qualities came out during this game. Most of his bad qualities are just talking shit about people with other people. Talking shit behind people's back. Yes, that's bad. But it doesn't compare to racist Aaron, who was aggressively racist towards people in the house. So I think that comparison makes Twitter look dumb as always.